Hello there. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm Colleen Klimczak. I'm an organizational and productivity coach and a certified professional organizer. I own Peace of Mind Professional Organizing, LLC. Since 2003, I've been helping my clients live better lives through organizing and organizational and productivity coaching. I support my clients and my community with coaching, in-person and virtual organizing, my weekly podcast called Your Organized Life with Colleen Klimczak, a free weekly virtual productivity session called Finish Line Friday, a free weekly email newsletter, and regular content on Facebook and Instagram. I also offer presentations and professional development to groups and companies. And coming soon, I'll be launching a membership circle to support my community with even more coaching and productivity content. Want to finish strong this week? Join me for Finish Line Friday every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Central for a 2-hour productivity session. Drop me an email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com to request my Zoom room link or follow the Zoom room link on my Instagram or Facebook pages. Welcome to Your Organized Life, episode 117. Today I want to share an article I recently wrote called Life Lessons from My High School Typing Teacher. Recently, my high school typing teacher passed away at the age of 93 in my hometown of Kalamazoo, Michigan. I hadn't thought about Mr. Frank Caro in a while until my dad, who still lives in my hometown, called me with the news on a Sunday, surely after reading the local Sunday paper. My dad called me while I was in the car, driving with my husband as we headed downstate to visit my youngest son at college at Illinois State. And I spent a few minutes explaining to Greg the phenomenon that was Mr. Caro. I explained, probably with a smile on my face, that he was my typing teacher sophomore year of high school. I still remember him so vividly. He was, now that I can look at him with wisdom that comes from growing up and life experiences, he was brilliant. I learned about far more than typing from Mr. Frank Caro. He seemed eccentric, quirky even. It was the 80s, but he wore clothes from the 70s and maybe even the 60s. He provided one of those glimpses in life. When you see a teacher outside of school and realize that the quirkiness and the dated dressing and the slightly snarky persona was an act that they put on as a teacher, and that their persona was not the same as, or not all there was to, the actual person. The normal-looking family man, husband and father, in nice slacks and a sweater that you saw at Mass on the weekends. And you have to take a moment and broaden your perspective and understanding that teachers are people. Not just people or not just teachers, but both. And he taught this by example as well. My siblings and I had a lovely back and forth about Mr. Caro, and it turns out that he was also definitely paying attention in class and out of class, as a couple of my comments and my brother's comments showed the awareness he had of them as people outside of the classroom too. So, one lesson I learned from Mr. Caro is understanding all the facets of a person. It may be difficult to imagine now, but in the 80s, every student was required to take typing. Yes, typing at some point in their high school career. And yes, I am totally dating myself right now. But we were required to take typing, and since mine was not a big high school, we all had him as a teacher. And we all have our memories of him, and mine are quite fond. I won't say that at 15 I was a very good typist. He would walk among our desks and comment if we were looking at our fingers on the keyboard or checking our accuracy. And he definitely commented often to me. But even though he was stern and kind of quirky, I don't remember disliking or feeling frustrated or having a problem with his occasional nasally admonishments. My oldest brother said in the text thread, this is a quote, "The magic of Frank Caro was the delivery, how to convey that thin, obnoxious French waiter voice with perfect drops of sarcasm and superiority. That is just what you signed up for when you had Mr. Caro as a teacher. As is often the case, my dad called me to tell me of Mr. Caro, and it is then my job to share that nugget of news with my siblings, which is funny because they still live in Michigan and I don't. My siblings, I have 2 older brothers, were 2 and 4 years ahead of me at the same high school, and they also had Frank Caro for typing. And so when I finally remembered 2 days later to text my siblings early on a Tuesday, my oldest brother Sean commented immediately with, in quotes, "Breathe with continuity, type with continuity, live with continuity." Those were the words to live by that he remembered from the mid-'80s and his experience with Frank Caro. Isn't that funny that this man obviously impacted all 3 of us, and others of course, at different times 30 years ago, and the messages still remain. Type with continuity, breathe with continuity, live with continuity. My brother Patrick had kind words as well, remembering that he shouldn't have gotten along as well with Mr. Caro as he did, he said. But Mr. Caro, one-on-one, was also vastly different than Mr. Caro in the classroom. And it turns out that my brother and his friend used to stop by Mr. Caro's room daily to grab a piece of candy from the candy jar and visit. Patrick's quote from Frank Caro was, "Never lose track of your home row." How amazing. Breathe with continuity, type with continuity, live with continuity, and never lose track of your home row. I guess there was a lot of truth or merit or value, or all of the above, to whatever mysticism our typing teacher was weaving and working in his classroom. For all 3 of us to have vastly different experiences life, but we, to a person, also had fond and powerful memories of typing class. And it's not that it was typing class, it's that it was Mr. Caro. And we know that now. Breathe with continuity, type with continuity, live with continuity, and never lose your home row. Another lesson I carry with me from Mr. Caro is that faster is not better, meaning work on accuracy, and with practice, the speed will come. I'm a musician. I was a musician then, a budding one, and still am today. And that lesson still holds true. Work on doing things right, and then practice a lot, and the speed will come. For example, in flute music, we don't learn 16th note runs in music by playing them fast immediately. In typing class, it was more important that we be accurate first and then gain speed next. True then in typing, true now in life. Lessons to live by. I didn't know this would be an ode to my high school typing teacher when I started writing it, but as it turns out, it is. I was inspired to share the life lessons that I learned at the age of 15 and that have obviously stuck with me this long, and I'm grateful for the experiences and knowledge gained and shared experiences with my brothers. I love knowing they had similar, clear, and fond memories of this man like I did. So to review, we're all made up of many facets. Breathe with continuity, type with continuity, live with continuity. Never lose your home row, and faster isn't better. So in addition to these life lessons that I'm sharing, I also have a couple other challenges for you this week inspired by Mr. Caro. I've taken you all with me on a walk through time recently with Psychology 101 in a recent podcast from freshman year at the University of Dayton to Productions and Operations Management from college junior year. And now a dip back to high school at Hackett Catholic Central in Kalamazoo, Michigan, as I recall topics and teachers who've influenced my life. And that's big. So the first challenge is, what do you want people to remember about you in 40 years? What do you want to be remembered for? And when you can answer that question, make sure that is the life you're living now. We don't understand the impact that we can have sometimes, but we do have an impact. So determine what that impact is that you want to have. And the second challenge is to ask, who was that teacher for you? Who was your Mr. Caro? If those special teachers or mentors are still around to be appreciated, appreciate them. Reach out to an impactful teacher or mentor that you've had in your life and say thank you. They would love to hear from you and to know how they touched your life. and you'll be a better person for being able to say thank you and being grateful for them and to them. For example, a few years ago, I reached out in a letter to my best boss ever. And I'm saying that, and I'm self-employed. She was still the best boss ever. Her name is Helen. And I reached out a few years ago to thank her for her support during my time at the University of Illinois and for being generally gracious and amazing and someone I should aspire to be like. Humbly, of course, she said she didn't see that, but that a coworker of mine from the same time had said the same thing. Of course we did. She's amazing. I am better for having known her, and she needed to know that. I didn't have a chance to say thank you to Mr. Carroll. I haven't lived in Michigan for 30 years or more. However, since Mr. Carroll was a faithful Catholic like me, I have faith he's able to hear my gratitude in heaven. May we keep remembering that we're all made up of many facets, to breathe with continuity, type with continuity, and live with continuity, to never lose your home row, and that faster isn't better. Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Support around applying life lessons when we find them and making the impact we're meant to make is what organizational and productivity coaching is all about. If it's time to invest in yourself and explore coaching for organizing and productivity, I would love to hear from you. Drop me a line via email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com or message me through my social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you next week.